Thanks for being here. Let's get going. So, Chris Moore is the founder of Elite Business Advisors, where he works with painting contractors to improve efficiency, profitability, and growth strategy. He has a background in finance and years of experience in the trades. So, Chris offers tailored coaching that helps business owners approach their company like a scalable operation. His work is practical, measurable, and deeply rooted in helping teams succeed. So this session that you are attending right now is titled "The Blueprint for a Scalable Sales System." And with that, it's all yours, Chris.
Cool.
If you go ahead and
Jaden.
share
Yep.
your screen, let's
Let me
just
get
double
it
check.
shared here. And boom. Are we good?
Yes, there we go.
Cool.
Good to go.
Awesome. Well, sweet. Well, Jaden, I appreciate that introduction. I always love coming on and sharing this, and appreciate you guys including us in on this as well. Feel free, drop thoughts, drop comments, drop questions in the chat. I always love doing the Q&A. Sometimes I almost would love to just do a 40-minute Q&A with people, but I promise I do a little presentation here as well. So just a quick background about myself. We've got two small kids at home, so life is chaos at home. I'm here from St. Louis, as Jaden mentioned. So enjoying the Blues at least being in the playoffs and the Cardinals not sucking too terribly bad this year. So big St. Louis guy, big sports guy. And everything. But I just always like to kind of share a little bit about kind of my journey in the painting industry. And I'll make this brief because it's not part of the scalable business model or sales system, but it kind of ties into it, right? And I just want you guys to understand where I'm going to share information at with you guys today. I started out in the painting industry when I was 19 years old with a company called Student Painters. Had went through their internship program. They taught us what it was like to run and manage a small business, and they picked exterior painting, which I had no idea what I was getting into. And I always love sharing the picture on the left of our very first job, in which we rented a 32-foot ladder because I was too cheap to buy one. We didn't have a lot of big projects. We did some fascia soffits. And apparently we did such a great job that the homeowner found a touch up about 28 feet up there in the air, and we'd already taken the ladder back. And so what did we do? We put the 24-footer up there. I put the painter that I cared about the least, if I'm being honest, up there. We tied him off, I think, to the homeowner's air conditioner. I don't know what that was going to do if the ladder went sideways. Probably would have ripped the AC out of the house too. And we gave him an extension pole and said, good luck. And so that's where I started in this whole industry as a journey. And eventually learned the craft a little bit. After spending 7 years, I opened my own painting company here in St. Louis, professionalized a little bit, got into doing kitchen cabinets, less sketchy 24-foot ladder work like that, and continued to grow. Realized my passion was really in coaching and mentoring. That's why I stayed with Student Painters for 7 years. And so eventually started Elite Business Advisors. And I just share all that to say I've got over a decade in the painting industry of running and managing a business, working with homeowners, having employees, building out systems and processes. And now really what we get to do, and my favorite part is we get to benchmark from over 100 painting contractors here across North America to bring information on what's working, what's not working, what we've seen work well, and bring all that information to you guys here today. So everything I'm going to share isn't just about how I did things or my experience, although you'll hear a lot of examples in there. But you're going to get a lot of what we see working with our clients, what we've seen not work with our clients, and what we believe is the best 6-step process to having a scalable sales system here for your business. So as we get into it, this whole thing is kind of relies around systems and processes. Okay. And so we've outlined kind of 6 steps here. It all starts, and I'll dive deeper into each of these as we go through. It all starts with the scheduling conversation, right? How does a homeowner schedule an estimate with you? What does that conversation look like? What does that process look like? And I'll dive deeper and give you some tips on that. And then it turns into one of my favorite things, Brad Ellison. I love that you're on here because I'm going to give you a shout out on this in a little bit. Is having some touch points between when the estimate is scheduled and when you show up for the estimate, and that's a big pro tip for a lot of people. I think there's some missed opportunities there. Step 3 is showing up, doing a walkthrough with the homeowner, and we'll dive through on how to take some notes, what to have conversations about, and whatnot. Step 4 is gathering your numbers and writing up your bid. So hopefully you're using a software like PaintScout to do this, but that's kind of step 4 in the process. Step 5 is going to be the presentation, how you walk through that with the homeowner. And then lastly, we're going to follow it up with the follow-up. And so to me, this is like the 6 steps in doing a bid. And a lot of times people just think on the job site at the customer's home, and I'm just going to talk residential for sake of simplicity here, although this can apply in a lot of different ways. They forget about the scheduling step. They forget about maybe having a touch point between when they schedule and when you show up at their house, right? So in my opinion, it backs all the way up to how are they scheduling the estimate? What does that interaction look like? And then all the way through into the follow-up, which is one thing I notice a lot of people always miss. So let's dive into the scheduling phone call. For me personally, I love technology. I love automation. I love a lot of things with technology. But I think there can be a point in a time where too much tech is actually not a good thing when it comes to the sales experience, right? I look at sales as a whole for your painting company as a journey that your customers go on, as an experience that they get in working with your company, right? Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of painting contractors out there. They can all slap some paint on the wall and they can all charge maybe what you charge, maybe less. Like, how are we going to differentiate ourselves? So for me, I look at this as a whole experience with them. And so even if you have it set up on your website where they're filling out a contact form, maybe they're even booking a time on your calendar and you've got that part of it dialed in, I'm fine with that. But you should still have a phone call with them, right? Or maybe it's, hey, fill out a contact form and then you call them, or maybe it's just they're calling you, they're texting you, they're Facebook messaging, whatever it is. I always try to get them on the phone. I know people's communication behaviors can be different, especially here and nowadays. But I think 90% of the people are good with a phone call, right? Even if it's a text, hey, do you have 5 minutes just to chat through so we can get this scheduled and have a good understanding, right? So I always try to get people on the phone. Again, there's going to be 5 to 10% that maybe just can't connect with, don't want to communicate that way, take it what it is. But I always try to get people on the phone. And whether that's you or your office person, right? Obviously, if we're talking scalable sales system, it's probably going to be an office person handling this, an appointment setter, VA, something along those lines. But it's a couple things, right? It's what's their information. And then I had a couple qualifying questions. Number one, what are you looking to have done, right? What type of project are you looking to have done? Does this fit within our scope of work and what we do well, profitably, and systematically? Okay, that's a big piece of it. Because I see a lot of people that sometimes they're chasing a lot of work and their business isn't really in a spot that they should be dealing with stuff that only the owner can do, right? Perfect example, we have a client here in Illinois somewhere, I won't say where, but he is really good at doing like Venetian plaster work, some high-end specialty type stuff, but he's the only person that can do it. But he's trying to build out his crews. He currently has 6 painters right now. He's pushing to that point of probably hiring an office person and it wants to get to 3 crews of 3 painters, right? And I said, hey, listen, almost said his name. I was like, this is not the time for you to chase these types of work that only you can do. You need to do work that's profitable, systematic, and that your crew can do and do well because you have the systems and the SOPs to produce it, right? So there's a time and a place for certain things. Keep that in mind as you're growing your business, okay? But I want to make sure that what they're looking to have done fits what we do. I, no joke, had somebody call me. Elite Painting was the name of our company. And they asked for a bid for retiling a bathroom floor. And I was like, okay, we don't actually do that. Do you need any painting work? And they were like, no. And I'm like, why did you call a painting company about tiling a floor? But I'm really glad I asked the question because I didn't waste my time and their time to go out there and do a bid, right? So I always want to make sure, if you wanted wallpaper removal done, we weren't your company. If you needed your popcorn ceiling scraped, I was not that company, right? We crushed interiors, cabinets, and small exterior projects, and we stayed in our lane with that. Second question is, what's the time frame of completion? We always booked 6 to 8 weeks out year round. If you needed something done in the next 2 weeks, there was a really good chance we weren't going to be able to get to it, right? So I just asked them some questions, want to make sure it's worth, I'm qualifying people, and then we're going to get a day and time scheduled. One other note on this, I always ask people in this conversation, again, if there's a contact form on your website, you might get this. How did they hear about you? Right? I always want to know every single lead that came into my company. How did you find us? Because we want to track our marketing metrics and stats to see what's working, what's not working. We can track conversion rates, all that fun stuff. I'm a spreadsheet person and a numbers nerd. So I know there's a few of you guys on here that feel the same. So another big thing, if I was scheduling at more than 3 days out, I always had a confirmation that would go out. I think a big thing that I don't have a slide in here for this, but I want to hit on is utilizing a CRM, utilizing a system, right? Everything that we're going to talk through on this, it's all useless to some degree if you don't have a CRM where you're organizing all your leads, your estimates, your pending estimates, your jobs sold, everything. And if you don't have a system to follow up and to do things, right? I have a very detailed system with how I use my to-do list and my calendar and everything, to where if I tell you I'm going to call you next Thursday morning, it will go in my calendar and end up on my to-do list to where I don't forget to call you next Thursday morning, right? So a lot of things, we can talk about all these systems and the 6 steps and the flow of this, but a lot of it hinges around, do you have the systems in place, right? Do you have a system that can maybe send them an automated reminder 24 hours before you're supposed to show up, as a, hey, looking forward to meeting you tomorrow. If anything's changed, please let us know. Just a quick automated reminder, right? Or do you have a system to remember to text them 24 hours ahead if you're not using the technology behind it? So just keep that in mind. That can be a very powerful tool. And as we talk about building a scalable sales system, a CRM, a place to organize stuff, a place to have a to-do list, have a calendar, it becomes so crucial into your business. So make sure you're utilizing that. Step 2 is what I mentioned a second ago. Having some sort of a video or a touch point that goes out to your homeowners. Again, automation and systems can be super helpful for this. Or worst case, it's your office manager sending one out, especially if you do one for interiors, one for exteriors, maybe one for cabinets. You can get really micro and put something together for each of them. There's a lot of ways you can integrate that. But the whole point of this is the experience, the journey, right? I want something to go out to them to where, one, they get to see your face and hear your name, whoever it is that's showing up, whether it's you as the owner, whether it's one of your estimators that's showing up, whatever it is, there should be something that they get to see from you that goes out to all of them within about 24 to 48 hours of booking. All right, so again, if it's automated, whether it's a phone call, it should be pretty simple. Introduce yourself, set the expectations of how the estimate's going to go. Hey, here's what you can expect when we show up. Let them know if you're going to be doing the bid on the spot with them. All right. Everything I'm going to run through in these 6 steps is presenting on the spot. I'm a big believer in that. I will live and die on that hill forever. Yes, I have plenty of case studies and plenty of people that have a great closing rate and they don't do it on the spot. Okay. But I firmly believe, again, as we talk about experience, that when you're bidding on the spot, you're going to complete that experience for them and answer some questions. So I'll dive into that in a second. But this video should be like 1 to 2 minutes long, maybe 3 minutes. Brad Ellison, I got to give you a shout out. You have an amazing video. It's professional. It's well put together. It's organized. And it shows your brand. Like, it's serious, but it's not super serious, right? Like, I love the video of you hugging your best friend and stuff. Like, so go search Ellison Painting on YouTube. I'm assuming that's out there into the world. If not, bombard Brad's email. I know he'd be happy to share it, just as an example. But I love that little touch point. And Brad, I think you guys did an amazing job with putting that together. But the whole goal here is we want to start building value. We want to start showing professionalism and that you're different from anybody else they've worked with, right? As we think about the painters in your market, there's going to be some professionalized ones on there, like some of the guys that are on this call here today, right? But for the most part, think of like the other 90% of people that don't have a CRM, that don't have a video that goes out. Like, it's really easy to differentiate yourself from everybody you're going to compete against. Even if their prices are close to yours, it's really going to help you stand out. Like, hey, wow, we're getting all this value and the pricing's equal, right? Or maybe it's, well, hey, you're going to compete against people that are maybe 2/3 your price, but it's going to be very clear why you're more expensive than everybody else is, right? Because they showed up, they wrote it on the back of a business card, they emailed it over 6 days later. It wasn't super detailed, it wasn't clear. They didn't have any of this stuff we're talking about, right? So like, this whole thing is about building value, and I would even say perceived value, right? Because again, the quality of the paint job might be the same, but we need to build that perceived value on why your brand is maybe more expensive than some of your competitors and justify that in the homeowner's eyes. And when you do all these things, you start building that value, you build that trust, and you make them understand psychologically the difference in an $8,000 bid versus $6,000 bid. It's pretty clear as day why there's a difference. Some people are going to be in it just for the price, and we just have to let that be what it is. Okay. So now I'm showing up at their house. All right. Step 3 is show up at their house 5 minutes early, no more than 5 minutes early, on time, almost late, but somewhere in that 5 minutes early window. I will sit down the street in your neighborhood and scroll Instagram for 2 or 3 minutes if I need to not be more than 5 minutes early. That's just a personal pet peeve. But show up, we're going to do a walkthrough, right? Every time I show up, hey, Mr. Smith, it's great to meet you. You mentioned you wanted to have the exterior of your home painted. As I mentioned in that video, we're going to do a quick walkthrough. Like, let's just walk around your house, show me everything you're looking to have done, right? It's a conversation point. And really what I'm trying to do at this point is I'm just trying to build rapport and kind of get to know them, right? I've got a couple of pro tips here at the end. But one of the big things is like understanding disc personalities, right? Like I'm trying to get to know them. Are they a chatty Cathy? Are they like direct to the point? They just want to know what's the scope of work, what's the price, what's the solution? Are they very reserved and introverted and analytical? Like I'm going to learn in the first minute, like what's their personality, and I'm going to tailor the rest of my interactions to them in the next 20 to 30 to 40 minutes to their personality. Okay. So I'm just trying to get some conversation going, kind of break down those walls, make small talk, look for things to talk about, right? If they got a Winnipeg Jets flag in their yard, I might be like, whoa, I'm a big Blues fan. Like, why are you from Winnipeg and you're here in St. Louis would be a little weird. But if they have a Cubs flag out there, I'm really going to have a fun, playful banter about the Cubs Cards rivalry, right? Like whatever it is, I'm just looking for small talk, common connection points. But then obviously asking them questions about the project, right? Do they have colors picked out? I'm looking for opportunities to add things in. The classic, hey, your house hasn't been painted in 20 years. We're doing the walls and ceilings. Like we might want to think about freshening up the trim, right? Like kind of sell them on that and maybe give it an option and on why that would be a good thing to do. It's cheaper to do now while we're doing the walls, et cetera. All the typical sales stuff you can say. Talking about paint failures, right? Looking for paint failures, problem areas, anything like that to have conversations about. This is a question I didn't ask a lot personally, but I know I have some people that do it. It's just, what are some of the pain points you've had in working with other contractors? Like in general, you don't have to say painters or anything specific, but just, hey, what's some of the pain points? Right. Sometimes that helps you uncover some stuff about the homeowner and what's important to them. But it also gives you a really good chance to kind of diversify and separate yourself because I firmly built our company off of professionalism, communication, and showing up and following through on what we said. That was the reputation we had, and I would use that as an opportunity to kind of set ourselves apart from other people. So the whole goal here is just take good notes. Your whole goal is, hey, this is what they're looking to have done. This is the colors they're wanting to go with, or light to dark. We're gonna have to do 2 coats, whatever it is. Just take really good notes on everything here. The very end of the walkthrough, I would let them know, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and get my numbers together about 15, 20 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever it's gonna be. I'm going to write everything up and I'm going to go through it with you before I leave. One thing that we did with student painters, and I took this into my business, I just put a quick screenshot of the binder here, is we had something called a client manual. To me, this sold work for us. Eventually, I got good at sales and this became second nature, but I always believe that if you've got a weaker salesperson, you need systems and things in place like that video, like this binder, to offset a green salesperson that maybe doesn't have those connection points and that natural flow down just yet, right? And so for us in this client manual, it talked about what our process was for interiors, exteriors, and cabinets. We had our product data sheets in there from Sherwin-Williams that they made for us. We talked about credit card and payment options and how we handle things. We had testimonials and Google reviews in there. It was just a binder that it allowed me to kind of put that on them. Hey, I'm going to go take my numbers. If you want to get some more information about our company, here's this binder. Feel free to look through it. And again, give me 20, 30 minutes. I'll write it up and go through it with you before I leave. I firmly believe that this binder sold a lot of work for me. And some of them in times I didn't even realize because I'd always ask the question when I came back, hey, do you have any questions over anything in the binder? And people were like, oh, that was amazing. Thanks for putting all that through or together for us. And it just was a really good way. And again, I believe that systems, processes, and things like that can overcome weaker salespeople, especially as you start growing and you as the owner aren't doing all the sales anymore. I think it works well still, you being the owner doing sales, but this works really well when you, again, have some green salespeople. It was something professionally we put together. We didn't leave it with them after the estimate. We always took it with us. It was just something for them to look through while we were getting our numbers. And it will help if you have those homeowners that follow you around and want to talk. This will help kind of break that wall up a little bit and kind of give them something to focus on. So next step is getting our numbers together, right? So I'm a big fan of production rate estimating. I think it's the way to building out that scalable system. I think it's a way to doing it, again, even if you have 2 painters, because you want consistent bids, you want it to be duplicatable, and more importantly, you want it to be a seamless handoff to your production team. right? And so you should use industry average production rates. Obviously, PaintScout is, in my opinion, one of the best production rate estimating platforms out there. I'm not just saying that because they asked me to speak on that. I firmly believe that, and I share that with everybody in this industry. But you need to have, what are the industry average production rates? Not what are you, the rock star owner painter, production rates? What are our industry averages, right? And everything, in my opinion, should be hourly metrics. I get a lot of questions about do we do dollar per square footage? In my opinion, you translate square feet or linear feet into hours, and that's how you come up with your price, right? Because again, then you have the amount of hours you expect this job to take. It helps with scheduling. It helps with the handoff to production. It gives them a target to they need to stay under budget wise. It's just a really good setup. And again, when you put this in place, as you start hiring salespeople, it's copy and paste. Teach them the system. Teach them how to use PaintScout, whatever it is, to where that way everything is consistent and duplicatable to the end of time. Step kind of 4B here, these two kind of go together, is putting the proposal together to run through with them. Putting it together in a detailed way, again, that shows that value and care you're going to bring to the project. It's going to talk about what's relevant to them making the decision. I see too many people put their proposals together as if they're talking to their crew because it translates into a work order, right? But like it's not relevant information to the homeowner. Like, you don't need to say, spell out your SOPs on there, right? It should just be like, hey, what are we doing? What's important to them? What should they know about? How can we build some value into it? The work order can be tweaked for your production team, right? So don't write the estimate because it translates easily into a work order. Write the estimate to put your best foot forward and build value and what's going to matter most to that homeowner, right? Especially if you're talking through what type of paint you're using. Maybe they have small kids. You're going to use, duration because it's very washable, it's very scuffable or unscuffable, whatever. You're gonna put that in there, right? And kind of detail out why you're using that product, etc. Make sure you're detailed in what's included, not included, right? If you're painting bedrooms, always specify whether the closets are included or not included. Just because you don't put on there that they're not included, sometimes homeowners think, oh, they're painting the bedroom, so they're painting the closets too. Right. I'm sure most people on this call at one point in time had that awkward conversation of, oh, yeah, closets weren't included. We didn't detail it. Homeowner didn't understand that, right? Like we're trying to just avoid the miscommunications. Another good thing to detail out is if you're cutting a wall that heads down the stairwell to the basement, right? Where are we cutting that color off at? Is it this corner? Are we painting it through the little landing at the basement? Like where are we stopping some of those things? It's kind of a continuous wall. Just so that, again, everybody's on the exact same page of what's being done, what's not being done, what products are being applied, etc. But again, this is your place to really build value into your bid. Step 5 is the presentation. So at this point, we've got our bid together. We've laid the groundwork for this. And this is why, to me, this is so important to bid on the spot to kind of complete this whole full circle journey together is I want to go through it with them. I want to make sure they understand how I've laid it out. I want to make sure we don't have any questions. I want to make sure we're on the same page. And my goal in doing this isn't to hard close them on the spot, right? If it's a $700 room, you might do it. But if it's like a $7,000 project, like they might want some time to think about it or talk to their spouse, right? And so for me, it wasn't about hard selling. It's about completing that loop, making sure we're on the same page. And honestly, it's efficiency too. Because I believe when you have to go back home after going through 4 walkthroughs during the day and go back to company cam and start looking at pictures, you probably spend an extra 10 to 15 minutes just getting back in the mindset. And then if you have a question on something, you can't just walk back in the house or walk back around the backside of the house to look at it. You're kind of just stuck with your pictures, right? And so with the presentation, I'm just running through top to bottom. I'm selling the value, everything that we've talked about, what they're getting for, right? As I run through that, I get to the end, all paint, labor, materials is $69.95. That's a lot more powerful to walk through everything they're getting for that $69.95, right? Or whatever the price is going to be. One big thing here, don't forget to ask for the sale, right? Most people, as you go through, that was my end line. All paint, labor, materials for everything we just covered is going to be $69.95. And I stop, right? There's a little sales tip. I stop. Typically, whoever talks first loses, right? If you then go, okay, well, have a great day, or whatever, you want them to kind of direct the conversation from there. I say loses, but that's just kind of a sales term. You'll hear anybody that does sales training. But you want them to direct the conversation, right? They're going to then say, okay, great. They're going to ask questions. They're going to say, hey, I want to talk to my spouse. They're going to do something. But if they don't, Eventually, at some point, after like enough minute of, and this has happened, like awkward silence, back and forth, like just ask them, like, hey, did you want to get scheduled in? That was my hard close, right? That's who I am. That's who we are as a company still to this day at EVA. Like, we're not hard closers. But that was my line. Hey, did you want to go ahead and get scheduled in? And then they're going to say yes, no, we're getting other bids, whatever, right? But don't forget to ask for the sale. I've seen too many times, especially in the student painter days, nervous 18-year-old college kid get to the end, wouldn't say anything, and like, all right, well, great, well, we really appreciate your time, have a great day, and they just walk out and leave, right? And it's like, no, no, no. At least ask them, like, do you want to go ahead and get scheduled in? And then let them know how to book with them if they need more time. Hey, great. When you guys make that decision, if you guys have any questions, reach out. But if you guys want to go ahead and get started with us, just reach out, let me know. And then we'll go through the process of collecting a deposit, getting the contract signed, and we'll get you on the schedule, right? Just let them know what that next step looks like to do business with you. Again, I think it's something I see a lot of people miss. This was something that I left behind that we created in Canva, had professionally printed out. I'd get like 150 of these put together at Office Max at a time. This was like something I wanted them to see. You can attach it with your bid and PaintScout, anything else too. But this was something I wanted them to know. Hey, if you're getting multiple bids, and I would walk through this with them either digitally or paper, and just say, hey, listen, if you're getting other bids, we totally get it. We just want to make sure, like, here's a few things to think about to make sure you're comparing everything apples to apples, right? Is the scope of work the same? Is the number of coats being applied the same? What quality of paint are they using, right? Do they have insurance, workers' comp? And if I built a good relationship with them, I might joke about, like, are they caught up on their taxes, right? Like, so I think that that's a good way to, again, just, we're trying to build value. We're trying to be professional. We're trying to brand things. We're trying to, kind of, hey, here's some things to think about if you are getting multiple bids. Just because, somebody will come in and, they won't include the trim. You included the trim, and they're like, well, your bid was $2,000 higher. Well, that's because we included trim on ours and they didn't, right? So let's just try to guide them and educate them on how to make that decision. And again, I think it's just a differentiator. So I know I got a couple minutes left here. I'm almost at the end anyway. So step 6 is the follow-up, right? Depending on how that conversation was left that day. My classic line was, hey, Ms. Smith, it's Chris Moore from Elite Painting. I just want to follow up from our estimates if you guys had any questions, right? Like, again, that was it. Again, they don't say anything. Great. Did you guys want to go ahead and get scheduled in? But again, they're typically going to guard or direct the conversation, but that was always just kind of my way of checking in on people. Hey, just want to follow up, see if you had any questions. 2 to 3 days, if they're like, hey, this all looks great, let me talk to my spouse about it. Whatever, I'd follow up probably 2 to 3 days later, depending on how it fell in the week. If they're like, hey, we got a couple bids coming, or we're going out of town, or whatever, I might stretch that out about 7 to 10 days. But for sure, within a week, we want to follow up. And again, this is for doing bids on the spot. This isn't like sending an estimate over and you wait 3 to 7 days. That's a whole nother conversation I'm not going to get into. So a couple pro tips I want to wrap up with here. Always make your schedule sound full, both when you're scheduling the estimate and talking about project completion. Sometimes I see people when you're kind of in those desperate times, like, well, I can come anytime on Wednesday and Thursday. Like, it's not building good confidence. Keep control of that conversation and just say, hey, what does your Thursday afternoon look like? And if it's wide open, like, or they can't do Thursday afternoon, okay, cool. Hey, let me see, what about morning time, right? Like, just guard that conversation and direct them. I mentioned earlier about the disc personalities, understand that. Again, my whole goal is to build relationships, right? People want to buy from who they know, like, and trust, right? So I want to build confidence in them. I was selling myself, right? You're selling yourself. Your estimators are selling them in the confidence side of things, right? So again, that's where some of these systems come into play to help offset that if they're not confident yet. Another thing, assume the sale, right? Never say, well, if you choose us, or whatever. Say, hey, well, when we're here, this is what we're going to do, right? Or, hey, when we're here, this is what you can expect, or this is what we do, whatever it is, right? Not just, hey, if you pick us while we're here, it's kind of like a weird thing, but it can be a good thing as well. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. I'm more than happy. I'm going to leave this up here just for a second. I'll stop the screen share. I'm more than happy to share this presentation with you guys. So you have it for notes or anything you want. There's a QR code on there that'll take you to our website. Just put in your info. I'll put my email in the chat here in a second when this goes away. I'm more than happy to send it over. Give me a couple of days. I'll get that sent over to you guys. And then we're also doing our 2025 Elite Business Retreat here in St. Louis, July 23rd, 24th, and 25th for the VIP. If you're interested, would love to extend an invite to anybody that's on here today. Scan that, or you can find that on our website as well. And get some more information. So, Jaden, I'm going to kick it back over to you Let's do one of my favorite parts here with the Q&A.
Yeah, right on. Thank you so much, Chris. That was great. I'm not actively running a painting business, but I am learning plenty in other ways through these presentations, and that was awesome. There's lots of really great pieces in there.
Yeah, I
So
appreciate that.
I did want to say not if, but when you attend the Elite Business Retreat.
Assume the
Um,
sale. I like it.
we'll make sure that you guys have all the info for that QR code or link to it again,
Yep.
as well as links to everything for you, Chris, to contact you or reach out or see what you're up to.
Yep.
Um, so a couple things. One I wanted to mention was Brad throwing. He did throw that link to his video in the
Awesome.
chat.
Thanks, Brad.
Actually, before you mentioned it, he had already thrown it in there, so he was
He
ahead of
was
it.
ready. I kind of prepped him for it. So,
Yeah, there you go. And it's awesome. I took a quick look, and it's really well done. The only comment I wanted to make is that, like, for the most of the time, something is better than nothing. So I feel like don't feel
yep.
like you have to make this perfect video and spend 6 months and hire a production company or something.
Yep. Yeah.
Just one little comment. One of
Yeah.
the questions that came up here, which we can jump into, was, and it's an anonymous question, but it was, what's the best place to find a detailed list of industry production rates?
Industry production rates. So PCA has a great cost estimating guide that they've put that together for. If you're not using, I know you guys have a lot of good stuff here with PaintScout together, but if you're looking for something external, the PCA cost estimating guide, if you remember, I know you get a discount on it. That would be a fantastic place to look at. Obviously, there's a lot of people out there that are happy to give a lot of great information out there. Myself, Nick, many people, but I think the PCA cost estimating guide is probably going to be the best bet because that's taken the entire industry together as a whole, and a lot of data and research went into that. So look
Yeah,
at Nick
right on.
dropping links in the chat. I love it. Thanks, man.
There we go. He's ready. Nick's all over it. The Another one here, all in painting. I love the video one day before coming. For a sales team, should this be the estimator or the company owner that every sales rep can use?
I mean, in my opinion, if you're able to do it again, it all depends on like the logistics and production, right, and stuff. But I think it should be the estimator that's showing up. I think it can still come across well, like you said. Anything's better than nothing, right? And whatnot. But I think there's some different ways you can cut it in there. But I think it's better coming from the estimator because again, hearing their voice, seeing their face of the person that's actually going to show up at their house, I think that's part of the connection point there as well.
Yeah, right on.
But
Lots of
anything's
people.
better than nothing. If it's easier to do one for the owner for the whole team as an introduction to the company, then fantastic.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, a few people saying they just really appreciate the session. It's really
Yep.
helpful. Good refresher in a lot of ways. Another question here, broad one. Any industry trends you're sensing, changes, any innovative stuff happening out there that's not mainstream yet?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think there's a lot of really cool stuff, that's coming down the pipeline with AI with certain things, especially as it comes to bidding and there's softwares out there to help do takeoffs and help get those, in those square footage measurements to get into your production rate software and stuff. So I think there's a lot of stuff with that. And I mean, I feel like AI is becoming a buzzword almost, but there's a lot of stuff out there coming down the pipeline that's not real mainstream just yet. There's a lot of softwares that exist out there. I think as far as industry trends, I mean, I will say this, like, Nick, I know you get to speak a lot around the country too, as does Juan, and Brad's trying to become like us, but I'm just kidding, buddy. But like, we're seeing the professionalism side of the industry start to slowly shift. And I know this is going to be a tide that takes decades, especially as we see some of the older folks retiring that are the old school way of doing things. And there's a lot of newer, some younger people coming in that are a little bit more business minded, looking for these types of things. And so while I think it was, a long time ago, it was like really easy to differentiate yourselves. I do think people are waking up to the professionalism because they know they're going to be left behind. And while again, it's going to be a long-term shift to really make that change. Like, I think it's just important to see like people are changing and adapting and growing out there. And so, as time goes on, you will get left behind if you don't, start taking advantage of some things and really dialing in your system, your process, and what that journey as your customers go on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's worth mentioning on that note, like there are so many tools that are being built almost on an exponential level with all this AI
Yep.
stuff, and it
Yep.
can do lots of great things. But I hesitate to get lost in it. At the end of the day, it's there's always going to be a relationship. It's
Yep.
always going to be a
And
human
that's
element.
and that's never going to go away, right? Like that's everything that we talk about. We talk to our clients about. I share anytime I go speak is human to human interaction. Like that will not be replaced, right? So like while it's great to have CRMs and all these different things to help speed things up, at the end of the day, it's the conversation, right? You can have all the greatest systems, processes, and tools in place, but if you can't have like a relatable conversation and portray confidence to a homeowner, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a super important thing.
Yeah. Uh, on the note of CRM, asking what was your preferred CRM. There's some answers said that you guys were using HubSpot and PaintScout.
Yeah, so that and ideal tech stack. I mean, there could be a whole nother. There almost should be a whole presentation on that today. So truthfully, for me, we used a lot of Google Sheets at the time. As you know, I was getting out of the industry. A lot of the software became more and more popular. We have a lot of clients that do use HubSpot. We have some that do use Monday as well. Pipeline and Pipedrive are some other ones that we use. Pipedrive here for our business. It works really well, and it does scale over into the painting side of things. So it's really just what are you looking for it to do is the biggest question, right? I'm a big fan of having something visual. I love that about Pipedrive. A lot of them these days, it's a visual representation. You can see all your open estimates, all your open leads, rather than having to go kind of search for it and stuff. So anything visual, I think painting contractors, what we found over the years are most painting contractors are visual people, right? Because that's the trade.
Mm.
So having CRMs and things laid out in a visual way for them to see, like I love the dashboard that you guys have built for metrics and stuff. It's just very visually and easy to see, and I think that's what people need. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's important specifically with the CRM because it can be seen as a good kind
yep,
of like a foundational point of your business is that you're not picking one that ju has just enough features for today,
yep.
but
You're thinking
planning for the
long ahead,
future.
right? Especially if you're making a big shift in your CRM, that you don't want to do that every year, right? Like, and you
No.
want to kind of think ahead, like, hey, we might be at $1 million now, but we're going to start hiring estimators and this, and eventually we want to get to 5 million. We kind of need the CRM that'll still work at 5 million, not just that solves our immediate problem today,
Yeah.
right? And that can be a hard thing because sometimes you might pay a little bit more for that. But I think again, if you're having that long term thinking, that's your best bet. But I would say Monday and HubSpot are probably two of the more popular ones that we see.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks like, and again, every company, every business, every person is different.
Yep.
Brad's saying, they've got a good tech stack of Monday, Paint Scout, Ring Central, which is the platform we're on now,
Yep.
Company Cam, QuickBooks. Yeah,
That's a pretty
just
popular one for larger companies.
yeah, okay, great. Well, we're almost at time here. That was, I mean, there's discussion happening here. Hover is an awesome
Yep.
AI tool for exterior estimates.
Yep.
But no, yeah, really appreciate you being here, running a session. Again, like
Absolutely.
Chris has completely volunteered his time to be here, so we really appreciate it. I believe people have found the function of throwing confetti on the screen. And
I love
so
it.
if you want to, you can throw that on Chris right now to say
Please
thank
do.
you. And
Please do.
um,
And if anybody needs anything, like I'm always here as a resource. Again, I'm happy to share some of the stuff that was on there. I'm definitely always open to conversations and anything that we can do. So if you have any questions, shoot me an email, Chris at elitebusinessadvisors.com. I just put that in the chat. Visit our website, fill out a form. You can find all the info about the retreat on there. When you come, not if you come. I like that, Jaden.
there you go. Perfect. But yeah, thank you again, Chris. Really appreciate you being here today.
Thanks for having me, Jaden. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Take care.